Hello and welcome to the Business Standard Morning Show. I'm Ishan Gera and here are the stories for the day.
इस बार मनाली चलते हैं।
नहीं गोवा।
We Indians disagree on everything, but we agree. SBI is the banker to every Indian.
SBI से ट्रैक्टर लोन लिया, पाजी ये 100% सही किया।
SBI is the banker to every Indian.
Exactly a year after it announced its exit from India's consumer-facing business, Citigroup has sealed the deal with private lender Axis Bank to sell its consumer businesses for nearly $2 billion. So what does Citi's exit mean for its customers here, and what is Axis going to gain from it? Our next report offers some insight.
On 30th March, Axis Bank, India's third largest private sector lender, snapped up Citibank's consumer business in India for $1.6 billion. The all-cash deal included credit cards, retail banking, wealth management, and consumer loans. The transaction also included the sale of Citicorp Finance India Limited's consumer business. Citicorp is a non-bank financial company under Citi. Its asset-backed financing business includes commercial vehicle and construction equipment loans, as well as the personal loans portfolio. The transaction, however, excluded Citi's institutional client businesses in India. In a statement, Citi said that the company remains committed on serving institutional clients in India and globally. Axis Bank will have access to the large and affluent customer franchisee of Citibank, having a bouquet of fee-oriented and profitable segments that include quality credit card portfolio, affluent wealth management clientele, along with a strong consumer lending portfolio, the bank said in a statement. Citibank India serves 2.9 million retail customers. It has 1.2 million bank accounts and caters to 3,000 corporate clients. So, what are the immediate implications for Axis Bank?
It would give access to over 25 lakh new customers, which typically would constitute higher monthly spends per card as well. And one of the challenges that Axis would face is how are they going to ensure stickiness of such clients by offering wider range of card products, facilities, benefits, and newer tie-ups with other service offerings for these card customers. I mean, remember, HNI customers keep demanding more and more, and in this, Axis is going to be tested. This acquisition would definitely enhance Axis Bank's wealth management business, that's Burgundy and Burgundy Private. It would help Axis negotiate better distribution fee margins across its pool of assets it sells. The challenge would be how much of advisory services versus distribution of products it intends to undertake. Also, the Citi India's consumer business, especially their lending book, which is over 18,000 crores, is actually in the differentiated consumer space than that Axis currently serves. So it would help them definitely in increasing their net interest margin as well as improving their CASA deposits. From branch network perspective, this acquisition won't turn the needle for Axis because it already has a large network compared to Citi.
Citi's credit card portfolio is largely made up of high net worth customers. Ever since reports emerged of the deal, banking analysts indicated this fact as one of the key attractions for Axis Bank. Average spends per card for Citibank remains 1.4 times higher than the industry average. It's also a question of scale. As of February 2022, Axis Bank had 8.6 million credit cards outstanding and Citi had 2.554 million. Combined, they form the fourth largest credit card portfolio in Indian banking. So, it becomes clear that the deal will enable Axis Bank to close in on ICICI Bank, its nearest competitor. As of February, ICICI Bank had a credit card portfolio of around 12.77 million cards. Axis Bank Chief Executive Amitabh Chaudhry called the acquisition a deal of a lifetime. According to media reports, The buyout will give the bank access to 2.5 million Citibank customer cards and result in an increase of around 31% to its existing card base. Customers of Citibank, however, can continue to enjoy all the rewards, privileges, and offers to which they were earlier entitled. The Axis-Citi transaction is expected to close in the first half of the calendar year 2023, subject to requisite regulatory approvals.
सब अच्छी दिख रही हैं यार, कौन सी खरीदूं?
ये तो वही बात हुई, 4000 शेयर्स लिस्टेड है, कौन सा लूं?
वो तो सबसे आसान है।
तुझे 5 पैसा नहीं पता?
अब तो सबको पता है। 5 पैसा पर है 4000 स्टॉक्स की रिसर्च, टेक्निकल टूल्स और इन्वेस्टमेंट आइडियाज। डाउनलोड 5 पैसा नाउ।
अब तो सबको पता है, investing made easy and rewarding with 5 paisa. Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.
Axis Bank is indeed set to benefit from Citi's exit from India. Meanwhile, Business Standard Annual Awards for Corporate Excellence 2021 were announced this week. The winners, picked by a high-profile 8-member jury after open and extensive deliberations, truly capture the story of India Inc. during the COVID hit year. Our next report tells us why.
Tough times never last, but tough people do. As the pandemic struck, most business leaders showed resilience in the face of adversity. They rose to the occasion, did course corrections wherever needed, and steered their business to new heights. Winners of this year's Business Standard Annual Awards for Corporate Excellence 2021 showed all these qualities and much more. A high-profile 8-member jury virtually met late last week and picked the best of India Inc. The panel was chaired by Aditya Birla Group Chairman Kumar Mangalam Birla and included distinguished personalities from the fields of private equity, management consulting, and law. While selecting the winners in 7 categories, Birla stated that apart from the financial data of the nominees, due weight should be given to strong ethical attributes in addition to long-term business vision. With 3 winners coming from the pharma and healthcare sector, the awards highlighted the critical role played by the industry. India lived up to its name as the pharmacy of the world during the pandemic, winning praise for sending medicines and vaccines around the world. Infosys chief Salil Parekh was selected CEO of the year for the extraordinary turnaround and outperformance of the IT major. It has beaten peers like TCS in growth. Its market value has grown at an average of 40% over the past 3 years.
I would say Salil came out as the consensual choice and very, very strong performance since he took over the reins. And as we all know, he took over the reins in a pretty tricky time. So he's done a fantastic job, not only just in terms of running the business, but retooling the business, reskilling the people. He's pivoted the business towards digital. And I think what the jury found most noteworthy was that he was leading from the front and helped get some really good mandates for Infosys.
India's third largest pharmaceutical company, 87-year-old Cipla, bagged the Company of the Year award for its outstanding performance and contribution to the healthcare sector. The company draws 40% of its revenues from India and 21% from the US market.
The performance has been outstanding, and I think there were a number of other interesting aspects as well from the point of view of the contribution to the healthcare space, and particularly during the pandemic, the fact that the generational transition was so smooth. So it's quite an iconic performance.
While the jury discussed several outstanding individuals who have left a deep and lasting impact on India's corporate history, their unanimous choice for Lifetime Achievement Award was Pratap C. Reddy, founder of Apollo Hospitals Enterprises. The 89-year-old Padma Vibhushan awardee was recognized as a trailblazer not only in the world of healthcare but also as a philanthropist.
As the jury chose Mr. Pratap Reddy, in consideration of the considerable creditable work that he's done in the space of healthcare. He's been a pioneer. I think that the work they did during the COVID was quite outstanding. And he seems to have his succession in place very well and good numbers as well. So we thought he was in fact, the best choice for the Lifetime Achievement Award.
India's biggest stockbroker Zerodha, with its profitable business model, was selected for the Startup of the Year award. As Indians thronged stock market over the past 2 years, Zerodha's user base has grown from 2 million to 8 million.
We feel Zerodha actually pioneered innovation in the country on multiple fronts. It was obviously the first one to introduce flat fee, 0-day brokerage, etc., same-day brokerage fees for the entire segment. It was really a category creator. It has gone from strength to strength, and we think today it's got over 2 million customers, and it's also emerged as the market leader. And I think with the innovations that they have planned in the pipeline that we've been reading about, we actually felt that this was a candidate for the Startup of the Year. It is also, as we all know, one of the profitable startups in the year.
For Star PSU of the Year, the jury zeroed in on Bharat Electronics, which supplies electronic equipment and systems to the defense sector. The jury felt the candidate should show outstanding financial metrics, apart from facing competition from the private sector besides its peers.
Bharat Electronics was the Star PSU of the Year. This was driven by a couple of reasons. First and foremost was their consistent performance on various financial metrics, be it sales growth, profit growth, all of it leading to a significant increase in market cap over a 3-year period, and the market recognizing the fact that they have tremendous growth prospects ahead, which has led to a significant re-rating in the stock. But second, and I think more importantly, BEL is truly anchoring the country's Atmanirbhar Bharat program for defense preparedness.
Procter & Gamble Hygiene and Healthcare won the Star MNC Award, notably for the innovations it has brought about, helping the company sustain its lead in the feminine hygiene industry.
Again, consistent performance, very strong financial matrix. They've guarded their market and market share very tightly. And in spite of a lot of new people trying to come into the segment, I think they've maintained their market share, grown it, and also doing constant innovation in the markets.
India's largest diagnostics company, Dr. Lal Pathlabs, was chosen as the Star SME of the Year for its consistency and brand net recognition during the COVID times. The company's sales grew by almost 19% and net profits surged over 29% in FY21.
Lal Pathlabs, after looking at all the contenders, stood out both in terms of consistency and brand recognition, and obviously in COVID times went ahead of the curve.
In a year that saw extraordinary challenges and disrupted established business models overnight, what tilted the scales in favor of the winners was the confidence of the jury in their business models, which weathered the severe pandemic storm, and the disruptions and innovations they have brought in their respective industries.
यार
मत पूछ यार,
फिर से स्टॉक्स में फंस गया। तो स्टॉक्स के साथ बॉन्ड्स, इंश्योरेंस, गोल्ड में बैलेंस कर।
इसमें बहुत तामझाम है।
तुझे 5 पैसा नहीं पता?
अब तो सबको पता है। 5 पैसा है ऑल इन वन अकाउंट। डाउनलोड 5 पैसा नाउ।
अब तो सबको पता है। Investing made easy and rewarding with 5 paisa. Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.
Just like the best of India Inc., the markets too face several headwinds to emerge triumphant. The frontline indices are set to close fiscal 2021-22 with a double-digit return for the second consecutive financial year. The dark horse, as it turns out, has been the small cap segment, which has outperformed its larger peers. Will this dominance continue in FY23 as well? Let us find out in our next segment. Even though the frontline indices, the S&P BSE Sensex and the Nifty 50 are set to post a double-digit return for the second consecutive financial year in 2021-22 with a gain of 16% and 18% respectively, it is the small caps where all the action was concentrated in the year gone by. The small cap index on the BSE has surged 35% thus far in FY22, far outpacing the gains in S&P BSE mid-cap and the BSE 500 indexes that moved up 18% and 20% respectively during this period. The small cap rally was driven by improved earnings and strong inflows from domestic investors in local equities. Domestic mutual funds have seen a record net inflow of 1.73 trillion rupees in FY22. FPIs, however, reported a record net outflow of 1.42 trillion rupees during this period, the National Security Depository Limited data shows. Despite the strong show, most analysts expect the markets to remain choppy in FY23 amid multiple headwinds. The ongoing geopolitical crisis between Russia and Ukraine, they feel, will keep commodity prices, especially crude oil, elevated, which in turn will keep stock market gains in check. Persistent inflation in the US and an increasingly hawkish US Federal Reserve are negative for global equity markets, said VK Vijay Kumar, Chief Investment Strategist at Geojit Financial Services. US dollar index at 99 levels and the 10-year bond yields at around 2.5% too are areas of concern. Listen into what he said.
For FY23, the returns look promising, but there are headwinds. Persistent inflation in the US and an increasingly hawkish Fed are negative for global equity markets. Global US dollar index at 99 and 10-year bond yield, the US 10-year bond yield at around 2.5% are areas of concern for global equity markets. India is relatively better placed, even though the spike in crude will impact GDP growth and inflation. The impact will be not very severe, it will be modest. And for India, there is a strong rebound in growth now, and earnings recovery can be expected to continue the momentum.
Vishad Torakia, Director, Securities at Equirus, suggests investors remain stock-specific. This is what he advises.
So what do we expect going into FY23? We feel that the volatility in the markets is likely to continue, given inflation pressures, which will also lead to margin compressions in the coming quarters. So we expect the market to be stock-specific and sector-specific. High inflation and oil-driven impact on imports is likely to impact growth as well, which is already fragile. Once the dust settles, we call there's a LIC IPO impending, which will act as a confidence booster to domestic equities and bring in much needed dollar inflows. In addition, attractive valuation could drive inflows both from domestic and external side. Our preferred sectors would be industrials, capital goods, real estate, building materials.
On Thursday, the last day of expiry for future and option series for March, the markets are likely to remain range-bound amid volatility. That apart, the financial year end on March 31st will also weigh in on investors' minds as they book profit or loss on their investments for the fiscal year gone by.
अब क्या किया?
शेयर्स में ट्रेडिंग।
तुम्हें 5 पैसा नहीं पता?
ओए, अब तो सबको पता है। 5 पैसा पर मिलते हैं रिसर्च टूल्स, पोर्टफोलियो एनालिटिक्स और इन्वेस्टमेंट आइडियाज भी। डाउनलोड 5 पैसा नाउ।
अब तो सबको पता है Investing made easy and reporting with 5 paisa. Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.
Investors happily bid adieu to another profitable financial year marked by several strong headwinds. Meanwhile, environmentalists too were a relieved lot as the concept of carbon credits was gaining ground. Watch our next report to know more.
Winters are no more pleasant for people living in Delhi and NCR. The entire region is engulfed in smoke emanating from fires dotting the region. Burning the stubble is far more convenient and cheaper for farmers instead of plucking the crop from the roots. Several steps to wean them away proved futile, but now a novel initiative is showing some promise. Indian Agricultural Research Institute is teaming up with a private firm to build a marketplace for trading in carbon credits by Indian farmers. While carbon credit trading in agriculture is a nascent field in India, it can provide an alternative source of earning to farmers. With this, the farmers would be able to claim carbon credits for a host of practices such as not burning paddy straw, not plowing land, and laser leveling of land. But what exactly are carbon credits? Let's find out. Let us first understand carbon market mechanisms. As the UNFCCC explains, when a country sets a limit or cap on its greenhouse gas emissions, it creates something of value. That something is the right to emit. A country or company that reduces its emissions below its set limit now has something to sell. That something is its unused right to emit, which is measured in tons of CO2 equivalent. Now, countries and companies that are unable to meet their targets can buy these 1-ton units to make up for the shortfall. This is the basic idea behind emissions trading or cap and trade. In theory, the net effect on the atmosphere should be the same. However, this would only hold true if the measurements involved are accurate. Accuracy here would mean that each unit represents an actual 1-ton reduction below the cap, and that each unit is only used once. So carbon credits are like points that are issued to someone for either avoiding carbon dioxide emission or absorbing some amount of CO2 back from the atmosphere. One credit is awarded for a 1-ton reduction in CO2. Now the entity that has saved carbon credits can sell it and make money. The entity concerned gets a reward for not spewing or for sequestering CO2. And the buyer of the credit is basically paying a penalty for emitting or not being able to sequester CO2. And who does the buying? Typically, the buyers are companies and governments. Companies such as Google, Amazon, and Apple, which have vowed to hit net zero by a certain date, can keep their promise in part by buying carbon credits. Governments with emissions reduction commitments will also buy these credits. There is already an active market for carbon credits in place, and the rules for the functioning of the markets have been agreed upon in last year's COP26 climate talks.
इसको 30 डिग्रीज कर देते हैं। अरे नहीं यार 45 डिग्री सही है।
We Indians disagree on everything, but we agree. SBI is the banker to every Indian.
SBI का वीडियो KYC सेविंग्स अकाउंट। Finally I agree.
SBI is the banker to every Indian.
Abu Dhabi Global Market is partnering with Air Carbon Exchange ACX to create the world's first fully regulated carbon trading exchange in Abu Dhabi. That's all for today. For more news and analysis, log on to businessstandard.com. We'll be back tomorrow with our next episode. Thank you for watching.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.